All right, so we are live and we are going to be talking about all things pay-per-click advertising on Amazon to help you drive more results, more sales, more profitability, all that fun stuff. And I am excited to be joined here today by Paul Haberlein, who is a PPC expert that I stumbled onto, and I was so excited. And I was like, I got to have this guy on the show. So, Paul, thank you for joining us here on the My Amazon Guy PPC AMA live stream.
Absolutely, Kevin. Thank you for having me. And shout out to my Amazon guy and you, Kevin, for providing so much free value, and grateful to be able to give back.
Well, thank you for that. And I just want to make sure, because every now and then there are technology challenges, because technology is great until it's not. So just to make sure, folks, can you hear me? If you don't mind commenting, yes, I can hear you, and clicking the little thumbs up icon just to let Mark Zuckerberg and the folks at YouTube know that you can hear us. That's always a good thing, just to make sure we're not speaking into an empty room. So if you don't mind letting us know that. And then also, it looks like Lima says yes. So I'm assuming that's yes, can hear. And then Inderpreet says live. So yes, we are live. So let's do this before we get started. Paul, tell us a little bit about your background in PPC.
Absolutely, Kevin. Yeah, so I have been working as a full-time, professional PPC and SEO manager for 4.5 years. I've worked for relatively big companies like, MC Pathfinder, for example, or AdBadger as a freelancer and independent contractor. And obviously I've no credibility or experience as a seller, but I have a proven track record of growing sales for 7- and 8-figure brands and lowering TACOs. I think the best case study, or the biggest account we grew when I was with AO2 Marketing was from 600K a month to $1 million a month, while lowering TACOs by 2-3%. So
nice.
that's the highlight case study.
That's a good one. That's just bringing more money straight to the bottom line while also growing sales. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get into everyone's questions here in a moment. Paul has a lot of experience, so he's going to give you his perspective on how you can also grow your sales and lower your TACOs if that's what you're looking to do, which I'm assuming if you're watching this show, that is your goal. So go ahead, ask questions in the live stream. The sooner that you ask the questions, the more likely we will get to them. We generally run out of time at the end, so it is about 12:02 my time, and we run out of time at 1 o'clock. So at the top of the hour, in less than 1 hour from now, in about 58 minutes, we will run out of time. And so we will try to get to as many questions as we possibly can. I will try to go in order. I reserve the right to skip around. But before I get started on that, let's have a little fun here. So if you don't mind, folks, comment with an emoji. And last week I gave a few giveaways. This week, expect maybe a giveaway or two as part of this live stream. So creativity counts, participation counts. Let us know in the chat, whether you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever, just put in the chat an emoji to describe where you think your PPC is right now. Creativity counts. And so with that, we'll get to questions here in a moment, but just use an emoji. Usually, on your keyboard, you can switch from, something. Usually, depending on the channel you're at, there's even a button within the comment section where you don't even have to type letters. You can just select an emoji. So select an emoji. Keep in mind, I've done giveaways in the last few that I've done. I expect to do a giveaway or two. Participation matters, as does creativity, but you don't have to go too crazy. Just pick whatever comes at you. So Nabil, I guess that's a blue face. So I don't know if that's sick or if that's happy. What do you think, Paul?
Enthusiastic, Kevin, I think.
Enthusiastic. That's a good one. So that's our first emoji, as I'm sure more people are deciding what emoji to put in there. So just put in an emoji to describe where you feel you're at with PPC. It could be the money bag emoji. It could be the flame emoji. It could be anywhere in between. It could be crying emoji. It could be excited emoji. It could be anything. So if you put in the chat, and we're going to do last call here in just
it's like the killer.
Oh, the poison emoji. Ali, unfortunately, Ali, yours didn't come across, so I'm sure it was good. So if you're watching on Facebook, Ali, unfortunately, we didn't get your emoji. So this will be last call for folks to put it in an emoji. We got way more people watching than we have emojis turned in. Someone says, I'm not getting many options on LinkedIn and feed. You should be able to in the chat. I think you should be able to, like, if I'm on LinkedIn and I'm leaving a comment or something, I'm pretty sure there's like a button to bring up emojis, and it might be like a happy face, like it's a black and white button, I think, depending on whether you're on mobile or desktop or whatever. Oh, it looks like you found it. So that's the smiling emoji. So happy. So all right. So and then Nabil, tacos going up. So that's not a good thing. Sales going up is a good thing. Tacos going up, total advertised cost of sales, is not a good thing. So, so Paul, of the ones that we've seen here, between the money, smiling emoji, tacos going up, I don't know if blank is meant to be intentional. I don't even know how you leave a blank comment, but I guess Facebook lets you, or just didn't give the data. The poison emoji or the blue face emoji. Which of these did you think was the most creative?
For sure. So definitely the dollar sign, like with the tongue out. I think that's what we all want to see for our clients or for our.
Okay, so this one. So yeah. Banu, if you email Kevin@myamazonguy.com, Kevin@myamazonguy.com, let me know you gave the emoji and that I promised you access to the last PPC Mastery Summit. It's a $200 value. And all you got to do is just send me a quick email and just give me like maybe till the end of the day or so. And if I don't respond by the end of today, email me tomorrow, because it happens sometimes where people will like, hey, you never sent it to me. I'm like, oh, sorry, I went to spam. So it's nothing personal. So, all right. So if you have your questions, ask them into the chat now. The sooner you ask them, the more likely we will get to them. As everyone who's ever been in school knows, when the teacher says, does anyone have any questions? People don't generally raise their hand right away. They wait until it's almost the end of class and everyone else is raising their hand and they want to be part of all the energy of asking questions. And then they start asking questions. So ask your questions now, because you'll be more likely to get your answers. So with that, let's go ahead and start with a question. Jordan Lee Smith says, hey, would you suggest running broad and phrase match in perpetuity from launch, or pause them, only run exact match after a few weeks?
Yeah, that's a great question. Should I just dive into it, Kevin? I think
go for it.
Absolutely. No, I think it's a good idea to run them from the beginning. I would also evaluate what's your strategy. Do you want to be profitable from the beginning? Is your strategy to maximize order velocity while breaking even, or do you even intend to maximize order velocity while going over your break even? But I would definitely include them, and just the more eyeballs we get on our listing in general, the better, and especially like in the honeymoon period. But obviously it depends on the performance. So especially like in the beginning for like our top 30 to 40 keywords, I would definitely run them in an exact match campaign for sure. I think that's mandatory. I think broad and phrase match is not necessarily needed in the launch phase. So I think it's optional, not mandatory, but in general, I would still test it, just so we increase the probability of getting like profitable conversions. And we want as many of those as possible, always, but especially like in the honeymoon period where we need to rank for certain keywords. So we might not have caught all of the keywords in our keyword like research, and that's a great way to find additional targets that we might add to our portfolio. So I think it's recommended but not mandatory. What would you say, Kevin?
I think it depends, on your product and how competitive it is. Sometimes finding those niche keywords can be good, and how much money you have to spend. I have kind of a high SKU count business, and so I'm always looking for the long tail keywords, because usually the long tail keywords are what works for me, because My products tend to be very specific, niche focused.
Mhm.
But that's me and my business. Now, the question I have for you, Paul, is a follow-up. So let's say Jordan Lee here or someone else does do broad and phrase to start with, and they've got some keywords that work well,
Mhm.
and they want to put them in exact. Are they turning those off, or are they running them in both exact and otherwise? And just know that I know this is always a controversial question, that sometimes there's tears shed over people's answers. So
Yeah.
what is yours?
Absolutely. Putting me on the hot seat, Kevin. I
Yes.
love it. But, you know, I get it. This is like a heated debate in the industry. Like there's one camp that says negate it and, you know, avoid keyword cannibalization. And then there's the other camp that says, you know, that you should never negate a good keyword and still isolate it into a single keyword campaign or exact match campaign. I would definitely say, like, it depends, right? That's always the last
Yes.
question.
When in doubt, it depends.
For sure, I would not negate it, and I would still isolate it into a single keyword campaign, because like some people might say, yeah, we want to avoid keyword cannibalization, but then again, we have like you know, the search term impression share report, which shows us that we can acquire multiple impression ranks for the same search term. So of course, it depends how each search term is performing. If like we see that one search term is really like wasting a lot of money, not performing efficient at all, then I would definitely go ahead and pause it, depending on if our ASIN is on, you know, target or off target. But in general, I want to, like, from my perspective and my intention is to acquire as many impressions as possible. And I don't just want impression rank number one. I would want 2, 3, right? I want like as many impressions as possible. So I would not negate it. Long story short, isolate it into a single keyword campaign. If it has high like search volume, like exact, of course, and like, but with a higher bid. So per definition, per logic, that should still cause the exact match keyword to trigger over the you know, origin or like the source campaign. So we basically have the best of both worlds. We isolate the keyword to force it into a single keyword exact match campaign, and we don't have to negate the keyword. But yeah, that's a heated debate in the industry.
Yeah, it definitely can be. So just to be clear, you're leaving it running in both campaigns. The original campaign, you're not negating it or turning it off, and you're isolating it in its own campaign as an exact match, just to let it really focus.
Absolutely. Depending on the performance in the other campaign, right? If we see that it's not performing at all anymore in the origin campaign, like maybe it's just like it has a high ACOS, just wasting ad budget, I negate it, sure. But like usually, yeah, I keep it running for sure.
That makes sense. All right. Kapil asks, does it happen that the auto campaign works better, and if you have extra keywords from there, it doesn't convert? What do you do there? Okay, make sure I understand the question. Reread that. Does it happen that auto campaign work better, I guess, than having a manual campaign? And if you have extra keywords from there, it doesn't convert. What do you do? So let's just say this. Let's isolate that into maybe two different questions. I think the first question is, do you ever have it happen where auto campaigns work better than manual campaigns?
Often, like a lot of times, auto campaigns work exceptionally well, for sure. Like, especially, of course, depending on your product. That's a no-brainer. Like, if I always like to tell the joke, I could show my grandmother how to run great auto campaigns for Apple, just because it's so strong. But usually, auto campaigns are, from my experience, the first to gain traction, and they are most often, like oftentimes, performing really, really well. What we usually see, and I'm sure you've seen the same thing, Kevin, is that you sometimes see the phenomenon that, like, for example, substitutes or complements is not triggering, or like one auto target is like, you know, gaining substantial traction over another auto target, and that's when we can like segment the auto campaigns. But like auto campaigns, yeah, I always keep them running. I don't like see a, you know, use case for not running them. Of course, depending on the performance.
Right. Exactly. If it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. Don't turn it off, I should say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so if you have extra keywords from there, so I'm assuming you have some that don't convert. you wouldn't promote them to having, their own isolated campaigns or something like that.
Mm.
But so if you have extra keywords from there, I'm assuming keywords that just aren't performing. So you would probably negate them in the
Yeah,
auto campaign.
that's a great question. And that's, I would say, one of the biggest challenges of auto campaigns is that you just generate a lot of search terms, as we all have seen with like 1 clicks, 2 clicks, 3 clicks in the last.
Oh yeah, it's all those little onesie twosies will add up
Exactly.
and kill you.
Yeah, death by 1,000 cuts, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just hard to make a decision on those keywords because we don't have any statistical significance with like 2 or 3 clicks in the last 30 days. We can't really say it's not converting because we just don't have enough data. But I would definitely go through them and evaluate or identify any search terms that are definitely relevant and have high search volume. Because that's, I think, smart to isolate those into a manual exact or phrase or broad match. Ideally, manual exact, where we just have more control over it on keyword level. So yeah, but like that's one of the biggest challenges, right? Is that like 60% of the budget of the auto campaign is being spent on targets with 0 orders, 1 or 2 clicks, and just causing the ACOS to go up. And we just have to be aware of the fact, I trust Amazon and everything, but we just have to be aware of the fact that advertising is also one of Amazon's most profitable divisions or departments. And it's not necessarily in Amazon's best interest to always make our campaign more profitable, right? They want us to make money, so we keep spending on their platform, but they also obviously, margins are finite, right? And yeah, we just have to be aware of that fact that it's in Amazon's interest, not for us not to negate.
Right. Exactly. With Amazon, the way I like to always phrase it is, our goals and Amazon goals, they're overlapping, but they're not aligned. So meaning they want sales, we want sales. It's just the difference is they don't care who gets the sale. They just want somebody to get the sale. So they're going to put whoever they believe in their infinite wisdom, or their algorithmic wisdom, I should say, is going to get the sale, get the better placements, get whatever. So that's who's going to rank and get, lower CPCs, because they're going to make more money in the end anyway. So, but just know Amazon is your friend with an asterisk.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. They make a lot of money from that department. So yeah.
Exactly. And their goal is to make money. I get it. And it's just, they're going at it a slightly different way than we are as sellers, but they're not completely against us, which is the good news.
Amen.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So Kapil says, adding to this, the top of the search impressions and clicks have increased after setting up manual campaigns, but still auto were cost effective with more conversions. Should I be reverting?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, again, Kapil, as Kevin said, like, never change a winning system, never change too much, like, especially if the ASIN is on target tacos that you have defined with your client or for yourself, where you see the best, like, performance. If you're on target tacos, I would not change too much. Yeah, sure, like, increase, placement modifies here and there, isolate a keyword here and there, launch a campaign here and there. But if you're performing well on ASIN level, I've seen it go south too often, when you change too much, when you hyperactively change bits on a daily basis and stuff like that. So I would keep it as it is. And but maybe I'm missing some nuances in the question. So top of session plays have increased.
Well, another way to say it too is you set up the manual campaigns, and let's assume he's saying that everything actually got better with the auto campaign than it did when he switched to manual. So it goes back to, if it's working, let it work.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, does it really matter whether you're using an single keyword, manual campaign that's an exact, or you have an auto campaign? If it's getting you the sales for that keyword, so be it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? There's multiple paths to the top. At the end of the day, if you get results, nobody asked you how you got the results.
Right, exactly. No one's going to come to you and say, I don't understand. You're getting your sales from auto campaigns. It's like you're not even a real seller.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be reverting it, because oftentimes also we correlate sophistication with complexity, but like
right.
my experience, like, less is more, which, there's like simplicity and sophistication, as I think Leonardo da Vinci said that. So if you get like results in a simplistic way, more power to you, so I would not necessarily be reverting if you're on target tacos.
Yeah, exactly. And another way to look at it too is like, let's say things didn't go as well and things are kind of going south, and he's thought, oh, okay, if I revert the changes, things will go back to the way they were. That might not necessarily happen because it's a dynamic marketplace. There's other factors around you. Could you have new competitors? Their bids could be changing. There's a variety of factors. And so reverting changes, especially drastically, like let's say getting rid of all your manual campaigns to make your auto campaign better again, isn't necessarily going to help you. So sometimes it's better just to, okay, I'm going to continue down this path. The next fork in the road, which path do I take, as opposed to trying to walk backwards?
Yeah, that's a great point. Like too many changes lead to you not being able to correlate anything to any.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And there's too many changes happening around you at any given time. All right. So Baba asks, I'm having this difficulty with auto. In 1 week, almost 60 plus keywords are targeted in it. Most of them have more than 3 and less than 8 clicks and are giving no sales.
Yeah, absolutely. Baba, I think that's what we just discussed, Kevin, right? With this, like with this scenario, I would always, like, if I'm auditing an account, I would need more context, right? Are we on target for the account that we define with the client or for ourselves? And on that ASIN, are we on target or off target for the account? If we're not on target, then I would go ahead and, cut targets more aggressively. Honestly, I would just go ahead and like negate all of these search terms that are not generating any sales in the last, 30 days, even though they might be relevant. Okay, I get it, but like, if we're not on target, we have to, initiate contingencies so we get on target. And then, I had some heated debates on LinkedIn with some, software people. Like, much love to my software people, but they were, working for tools that had a percentage of, spent pricing model. And, not to make myself too unpopular, but like, it's not in the best interest of those tool providers to tell you that you can negate those search terms if the pricing model is incentivizing them to generate more spend. But long story short, if you're on target tacos for the ASIN, I would just leave it as it is. It's okay. Like, if you're performing well on ASIN level, then leave it as it is. And if you're not performing well on ASIN level, if you're over target tacos, okay, I would go into the campaign, look at last 30 days, orders equal 0. What's the total amount of spend? And if I would hypothetically deduct it from the ASIN level performance, how would my tacos look? And then negate it. Of course, we have to factor in, as Kevin said, that market conditions change, but I've seen great results from just being a little bit more assertive and not overthinking it and just negating it, especially if you're not on target.
Yeah, and another thing too is this person mentioned, between 3 and 8 clicks, for a lot of these search terms or keywords. I'm certain search terms if we're talking about an auto campaign. If you're not getting sales, and it mentions 1 week, so I'm assuming they're looking at a 7-day window. Look at a bigger window. Pull the 60 days or what, depending on the report you're looking at. If it's 60-day look back window, look back 60 days, and you might find some of those are getting sales over time, and it's relatively profitable. But just maybe 1 week it gets 3 clicks, another week it gets 3 clicks and 1 sale, another week it gets 2 clicks. Well, it's a 10%, maybe not. I was trying to illustrate a 10% conversion rate over time, and maybe that's the case. So you got to look at it sometimes from a broader window to find some of the opportunities to negate too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's a great point regarding negations. All
right. Ali asks, how can a seller rank with using any good keyword in title?
So I guess that's the question.
I'll let you go any direction you'd like with that, with ranking and titles and keywords.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think the question is, can I rank for a keyword if I do not have it in the title? I guess I'm assuming that's the question. So So I know like best practice is
or how would you? Yeah. So let's go with what's your best practice there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely put it into my listing, put it into the backend, like the generic keywords, like backend keywords, however you want to, like whatever terminology you want to use, and yeah, definitely put it into the alt text. Shout out to my Amazon guy, right? I think we're thought leaders in that respect, and just make sure I have it in as many places as possible. But honestly, as long as we are indexed for it, I would just like check, on a weekly basis if we're indexed for it and what's our organic rank for that keyword. And then, I know, best practice in the industry is to have it in the title, but, if you put it out of the title and you don't see a substantial change in your organic rank and you're still indexed, then, why keep it in the title? Like you should still be able to increase rank. I know, like at the end of the day, there's a lot of, debate. Should you keep it in the title? What's the best field for ranking? Like, honestly, at the end of the day, we don't know. Like the A9 algorithm is a black box. We know that it should help us to rank for a keyword if we have it in the title. But we don't really know how much the algorithm is really weighing that in the equation of the algorithm on how to rank it. So, yeah, but definitely put into all the fields other than the keyword, other than the title, and then just make sure that you're indexed and your rank is increasing or like staying stable, and then you should be good to take it out of the title, right? I think that's phase 2 of my Amazon guys.
Yes,
SEO.
good point. You can go to our SEO page at myamazonguy.com and look at our 4-step process. Thank you for the shout out there, Paul.
Yeah, absolutely, right? Rotate the keyword set and make sure that you rotate keywords out. Observe if we keep the rank, and then the data. If the data tells you yes, then you're safe to rotate.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It all comes down to what is the data, and the data is real people voting with their dollars and their attention. So we may think it's a good keyword, it's an important keyword, but if our customers don't seem to think it's important and relevant to our product, the algorithm's not going to either. So
amen.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Sarish asks, all right, just real quick before I get to Sarish's question, this is just a friendly reminder. We are almost halfway through this live stream. So if you've not asked your question yet, there's a good chance we can still get to it, but I would get to asking your question sooner than later. If you wait to the last minute, we probably won't be able to get to you. So ask your question now in the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Oh gosh, what else we got? Twitch. We've got, I don't know, some little icon up there. I don't even recognize what it is. We're in a lot of places. So wherever you are, just ask it in the chat and we'll do our best to get to the first come, first serve, although I do reserve the right to go around. All right. So Sarish asks, what are the strategies to increase GVs and increasing GVs? Why am GVs should make sense. I'm drawing a blank.
Honestly, I don't know what GV is.
Gross volume?
Gross volume.
Increasing GVs is a good thing for a long time. GVs. This is a terminology I feel like I should know.
I've never heard of it.
If you're watching this, Sarish, if you don't mind, just maybe say what a GV is, and we might both just hit our head and be like, "Oh my God, that's what it was." It's obvious.
Maybe.
It's not a term I've heard recently, so I can't seem to think of what it is.
Me neither. Like the only thing I can think about is search volume, but
yeah, it's who knows. It's probably somewhere on some report, and I just can't think of what it is.
Glance views. There's just added glance views. Yeah. So at the bottom, like glance views. Yeah, like
glance views. So I'm assuming impressions.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, best practice is just index for as many keywords as possible, and because obviously glance views are directly correlated to the number of keywords we're indexing for, and then I would implement some system that with which you basically track not just like the number of keywords that you're indexing for, but also like the average rank that you have for a keyword. So that's what basically what my Amazon guy introduced, right? Is checking the indexation ratio, having it 2-to-1, and like the best practices are just as my Amazon guy said or preaches, is just like adding new keywords to the backend to index for new keywords. That's how you're going to get more glance views, And then you need to increase the average rank for relevant keywords, right? Because you don't want to increase glance views for irrelevant keywords.
Right.
Debatable, you might, but overall, like glance views are also just directly correlated to the demand in the niche. So you're not 100% in control of the glance views, because obviously it's directly correlated to customers searching your product. And then, yeah, like just like follow the SOP that my Amazon guy provided when it comes to indexing for as many keywords as possible, and just test out all campaign types. And that's really all like you can do. Check if you're targeting all keywords by, reverse ASIN lookup on your top 10 competitors. Are you really targeting every keyword that they're ranking for? I know you might say, yeah, I am, but like, are you really? Like, do you have an empirical data set, right, to validate the hypothesis? And then if not, then target every keyword that is relevant that you are currently not targeting.
Yeah, that's a good point. So what are those keywords you're going after? Are they relevant? And I wouldn't use impressions as the ultimate, if you think about it, there's a funnel. Now, it all comes down to sales. Amazon, they're a for-profit business. They want sales. And to get sales, you got to have add to carts. To have add to carts, you got to have clicks. To get clicks, you got to get impressions. So if you want more impressions, I mean, theoretically, if you show up on more product pages, you could get, impressions, but the click-through rate's going to be low there. Or, maybe you are showing, top of search somewhere, but no one's clicking through. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And so, at the end of the day, one of the ways I like to think of it is, if you're looking at the Amazon experiments page, they give you a conversion rate, and it's like an astronomically low number. And the reason for that is it's not, number of people who see the product, and dividing that into the number of people who purchase the product to give you a conversion rate. It's basically what is your click-through rate times your conversion rate on the page. And then that gives you what at least that particular team, and the data they give you, that's your conversion rate. So if you have a 1% click-through rate and a 10% conversion rate on the page, in their mind, you have a 0.1% conversion rate.
Conversion rate, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Because there's only so many people searching for whatever widget you're selling.
Absolutely, right? And I think another great tactic, just to add on what you said, Kevin, is just go to Cerebro. I mean, we have to take it with a grain of salt, the data from Helium 10, but just go to Cerebro.
Yeah, they're all, everyone's guessing. Even if you have a rep at Amazon, you got to take whatever they tell you with a rep, because they only know so much. No one knows the full picture.
Absolutely, but just filter for keywords that you are indexing for organically, where you have like a keyword rank from like 1 to 50, but you have no PPC, and vice versa. Check keywords where you have PPC rank but no organic rank, and of course check if they're relevant, because it might be debatable to put. Some people might say put those keywords into the listing, so we just like keywords that are not relevant but that we're ranking for when it comes to PPC, put them into your listing. Some people might say don't put them into your listing because we don't want to maximize glance views, we want to maximize conversions, and they might hurt the unit session percentage. But like, long story short, filter for keywords where you're ranking for when it comes to PPC, but where you're not indexed organically. You will find those keywords, and if those are relevant and you start to index for them, then that's a tactic to increase your glance views. Yeah.
Gotcha. What is there a difference between someone saying here in the chat, glance views are not impressions? Is there a difference?
Yeah, there's a difference. Honestly, I'm not 100% sure on the
the technicality of it.
Yeah, for sure. But I think either page views is the number of views on a page. I'm not 100% on that. I might be wrong. And sessions is can be multiple page views of one user.
Right, which would be the difference between session and a page view, but glance views versus impressions. Because I always thought until maybe there's fewer glance views than there are impressions, but I always thought impression counted once it showed up on the page because I had a chance to glance it, so to speak. Yeah, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's more targeted. So I don't know. I could be totally wrong on that one.
Yeah.
All right. So the question comes in from Rodrigo. We've enrolled a new product in the Vine program 3 weeks ago, but still have no Vine customers. Would running a PPC campaign help attract Vine program customers? I don't know exactly where the Vine program people go to see products, but I think they have their own. It's always been my impression, their own portal or whatever. Like they're not just searching and be like, oh, I want to buy this as Vine.
No, I agree. I don't think it will help like attract Vine program customers specifically, but definitely increase the probability of generating more reviews.
Yeah. If you're having trouble getting Vine customers from quote unquote buying your product basically for free, I think the first thing you should look at is your main image, because it's not attracting people. And you might feel deep in your heart that it is an awesome main image and you did a good job with the main image, but if they're not clicking on it or they're not buying it, that would be the first thing I would do is main image. Does that make a difference? And then maybe there's something that's just not clicking in the copy that makes people feel a little off on it. Or maybe it's just such a niche product that, Vine, mass market reviewers just aren't liking it. So yeah.
It's a great point. And just for the technocrats out there, glance views show the number of times the product detail page is viewed. So it's basically the organic, according to a Amazon or like Wiki Amazon. So it's basically like organic impressions.
Oh, okay. Well, I learned something new today. So thank you. Yes. You'd think I would know that after like 9 years selling on the platform. All right. So Serge asks, when do we know whether we should increase the bid, decrease the bid, or pause the campaign?
Yeah, great question. Like, again, without context, it's always hard to answer. But if we just visualize a process, like a flow chart or a process map, first question is always, is the account on target or off target? If the account is not on target, like, is the ASIN on target or off target that you defined with your client or for yourself? And if it's not on target, then I would always optimize more aggressively than if not. So for example, if the keyword or the target is performing bad and the ASIN is not on our target for the month, for example, and we're halfway through the month, for example, and we need to hit the target at the end of the month, I would aggressively downbid it or pause it. But if it's in a campaign that is advertising an ASIN that is performing well, that is on target, I would not change it drastically because we're still performing, on target tacos on that ASIN level. So that's basically the question, I think.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, are you meeting your goals? That's the biggest thing is, are you meeting your goals? You could go real deep on that one, but, like Paul said, account level, product level, keyword level, is it profitable for you, basically, and what you're looking to achieve? All right, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, like, just if we know how to increase the bid, obviously, if it's performing well, and then the search term impression share report, you have a good ROAS, good conversion rate. Let's say that like CPC of 50 cents. Obviously, I want to increase it and evaluate if I'm acquiring more percentage of the total addressable market. But you have to have some system in place where you track that. I can share a sheet, but I don't know if that would blow the proportion of the call.
Oh, gotcha. Well, let's just keep getting to questions, and if we have time to look at a sheet later, we'll do that. Serge asks, what ACOS, tacos, ROAS are considered as good performance, and what is the best? Interested in all three metrics separately.
Yeah, well, great question.
Yeah, so I'll let you answer. I've got my thoughts.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, ROAS is just the inverted metric of ACOS, right? ROAS is
exactly.
Ad sales.
They're just different algebra.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, if you have, let's say you have, just for the sake of simplicity, if you have a $20 product and you have a $5 margin, then your break-even margin or your profit margin is 25%. And your tacos is like the difference between your profit margin and your tacos is basically your gross profit after, advertising cost, or like your EBITDA. And at the end of the day, obviously, we want to maximize the difference between our our profit margin and our tacos, but also maximize the total value for total sales. I mean, it's easier said than done, but I would say tacos is the most important metric. But at the end of the day, for every seller, and I'm sure for you too, Kevin, like, at the end of the day, gross profit is the most important. Do you want $10,000 of gross profit at a 10% profit margin, or $2,000 of gross profit at a 20% profit margin? I would take the 10K, but like,
yeah. And this is one thing I learned way before I was ever in the e-commerce world, but I was a manager at a magical theme park in Orlando. And, one of the things we were taught was you don't take margins to the bank, you take dollars. And so, sometimes higher price products and things have lower margins, but they bring more dollars per unit. And so whether you're on Amazon or at the Magic Kingdom, the math works out the same. At the end of the day, how much dollars are you bringing in? So
I'm highlighting that. You don't take dollars to the bank, you take dollars to the bank. I love that one.
I love it. All right, cool. All right, Ulima asks, quick pricing strategy for clicks. We're getting clicks, but no sales. What is better for a pricing change, a coupon or lowering the price? We already have a strike-through price. Okay, so they're getting clicks, but no sales. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, so there's so much to dive into, right? And so
much that's a big one.
So number one.
Let me ask this question. Do you think they have a pricing problem here?
I don't think they have a pricing problem. They might have an offer problem that your offer is generating interest, but not generating enough trust to convert the clicks, or you're just really targeting keywords that are not relevant at all, which I'm not assuming. That might be a problem too. You might have like your review count and rating might be too low, so it's always difficult to answer. But in general, I would say it's more like an offer problem. So but because you're generating clicks, you're generating interest, you're converting impressions into clicks. So like focus on increasing the trust factor when it comes to reviews, and just like in general providing more value to the customer than the other products. I know this is not always the answer that you want to hear, but it's the truth. At the end of the day, the customer doesn't care. The customer's cutthroat. The customer will take the product that gives him the best value for the money. And it can hurt to realize that, but you have to realize the truth and really honestly ask yourself: are you better than your competitors? Are you providing more value to the customer than your competitors? And if not, then what would we have to change to provide more value to the customer? Maybe you are, but your listing is not communicating that. So really make sure objectively, if you take off the entrepreneur glasses, put on the customer glasses, and really look at your product and the customer's product, and what would you buy? If you would spend your money, which product would you buy? And if it's not your product, what would you have to change in order for you to buy the product? Because the customer is ice cold. Kevin, yeah, right. What would you say?
Oh yeah. Customers like a honey badger. Honey badger don't care. Customer don't care. They just want what is best for them. Yeah. And some of it could be depending what this product is. Are there major manufacturers or name brands, or just other Amazon brands that have 10,000 reviews and you have 4? That could be a factor of it. From a pricing standpoint, I was trying to see if I could pull it up here real quick, but I can't find it, so we'll move on. But Steven on his LinkedIn page, I think even recently he posted like a graphic of like, if you're not getting sales, drop your price drastically, and he gives like the number of units you should sell at, like, let's say a 50% discount. And not like a discount. It's just like, if you're selling it for $20, sell it for 10, just for ease of math.
It's a math equation.
To the point, it's uncomfortable, but at least you're starting to get some sales. Absolutely. But I agree with Paul. Like, this is probably a conversion problem, because even at a high price, you might not be getting as many clicks or as many people buying, but somebody should be buying. So if you're not getting sales, something's not clicking with people. You could maybe run a PickFu test. Shout out to John Aspinall and the people at PickFu. And you could have people they don't even have to like match it up against something. You just have people go look at your listing and just tell you what they think.
Absolutely.
And they don't know you, so they're not going to try to, not hurt your feelings. But that's what you want. You want to know, what is it that people don't like?
Absolutely.
So you can fix it.
Great point, Kevin. Yeah. And like specifically for the question, I would just like do both, to be honest, because the more shiny objects I guess we have on the page, the better. But like Kevin said, at the end of the day, we can have hypotheses and opinions, but you need to run, an empirical test to validate your hypothesis. To know what's more efficient.
Yeah. All right. Crazy Girl, interesting name there, asks, what strategy will work on shoe or clothing category in India? So I guess let's just say anywhere, if your daily budget is 2,000 rupees. I don't know that that's a huge budget.
I don't know. Let's
Rupees to US dollars. So let's see, 2,000 rupees is about $24. So let's say, which is probably good enough. So let's say, with clothing, probably high SKU count, let's say color and size variations.
Yes, for sure.
Where are you going to focus your budget to get clothing up and running, regardless of what country you're in?
Yeah, bottom of funnel, nothing top of funnel. Let's say you're selling black, I don't know, running shoes for women. Don't target shoes. Don't target running shoes, right? Go for the most specific long tail, like black running shoes for women, and get those, like target those keywords. And some people might say, yeah, but the search volume's only 100 or 200. I've seen people who say we don't want to target those, but honestly, if you have 100 or 200 of those low search volume keywords, I'll take those any day of the week. But I would say, focus on the most exact long tail keyword. That's the no-brainer. And then also utilize product targeting on, product detail pages that are weaker than you when it comes to, all the variables that we talked about, like review count, review rating. But honestly, with shoes, it's also it's not a functional or consumable product. So your design is really a huge factor, right? You might convert people just because they like the look of your shoe better than the other shoe. So I think, again, like Kevin, when we talk about, I think the offer is the most important thing. And if you just look different, or if you differentiate yourself from the other shoes, that is the best PPC strategy ever, because differentiation is the name of the game. And I'm talking a lot, but definitely, long story short, bottom of funnel, no top of funnel, broad keywords. So yeah.
Yes. So go be more like a scalpel than a chainsaw, especially with a competitive niche like clothing or shoes, when you don't have a huge budget. But $25 a day, the equivalent of, should be enough to at least get started. I don't know in India if you have lower conversion rates, higher conversion rates than you do in the US, but at least you have at least enough to get the ball rolling. But you just have to be more precise. All right, what else do we have here? We're starting to run low on time, and we've got lots of questions, so feel free to jump in here. Another question came up is, I made my first launch. We found a unique product. Congratulations. We don't have exact keywords to target because it's a unique product on its category. We spent $50 in ads with no sales. Please help.
Yeah. So first question, again, without context, is always a little bit hard to answer. What campaigns did you spend $50 on? Did you just spend it on the auto campaign? But if you have a unique product, if honestly, you might be better suited with TikTok ads or driving organic traffic, because, not trying to hurt your feelings again, but it's not just important that it's unique. You have to have demand for the product, right? If you don't have demand for a product, you can have the most unique product in the world. If there's nobody to buy it, then you're kind of screwed. You have to create the demand, which is exponentially harder than just tapping into demand. But for example, if it's a completely unique, innovative product, you can't overwhelm the customer. You have to tell the customer quickly why it's better than the other non-unique products. So yeah, that's a hard question. I would say if it's a unique product, completely new and innovative, you have to do more work in explaining, the listing has to communicate it, and you have to create demand, right? Which is harder than tapping into existing demand. But I would at least go ahead and stop using auto campaigns, stop using sponsor any manual keyword campaigns, and focus on product targeting on the keyword, like on the product targets that you think are the most relevant competitors to your listing, right? That still have some relevancy to your product, but where you think you're better, and try to target those. And honestly, like Kevin said, don't target any keywords that are broad, that have high search volume, where the probability of conversion is super low, and blow your whole budget on those. Like Kevin said, like, you have limited ammunition. Not trying to be too dark with the military metaphors, but you have to kind of like, pick your shots, right? You have to,
that's a good point, because the thing of it is if you have a product that people don't understand, maybe you make sure you have videos on your page. So whether you have to work with a TikTok influencer or an influencer somewhere else, shout out to Liz Saunders from Fluencer Fruits. She helps folks with that. So get somebody to record a video and have that video on there, or hire somebody on Fiverr to do a video for you. And because maybe your product needs a little explaining, because you're at least getting some clicks, but you're not getting purchases. I would say too, like, make sure that, like, are you going after a product that is at least has adjacent products to it? Meaning, is it an accessory to something, or people who use this would also potentially purchase your product? So maybe you can go on those product detail pages, because sometimes you're like, oh, I need the holder for the thing.
Yeah.
So I have a Rollo printer, which is like, a label printer, and there's like a little basket you can buy. Well, nobody would think to buy that like basket to put your labels in, because Rollo, they're like, especially like the shipping labels are more like, they're not in a roll, even though it's called Rollo printer. They're usually folded, so you need like a special basket. Like, but if you knew, like, okay, as soon as you like see the product you're buying, oh, I would need that. So what are those type of products where someone is on that product and like, oh, I do need your product. So, target those ASINs, because that might help. And then some of it is just, you might have to just get there and hustle over time. I mean, this isn't going to happen for everyone, but I have a friend of mine who, she won't mind me sharing what her product is, but it's called Click and Carry. It's this thing you open up and you put like grocery bags in. Right. And she, for the longest time had trouble getting people to buy it on Amazon, but she ended up on Shark Tank. And so she was able to demonstrate it to, Mark Cuban and Barbara and Mr. Wonderful and all of them. And that helped her over time. And she gets spikes every time there's a rerun. But the thing of it is, you might not have that Shark Tank opportunity, but maybe you have other opportunities with social media and influencers and things like that. So it might be a slower go, and it's not, hey, I'm just going to throw up this product that's unique, and the demand will be there because people they don't know they need it. So
that's a great point, Kevin.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think never assume anything. That's a great book, The 4 Agreements. Never assume your customer understands anything, right? Like, always explain it as simply as possible. And I think a great anecdote for like Kevin's stories, that Gary Vaynerchuk recently told the story about a food and beverages brand. They were selling like gummies with mangoes or whatever. And they just ran a simple TikTok like ad, right? They just had an UGC content post that was just like super simple, super low production, just like a customer, like, demonstrating the product, and it's sold out nationwide, and it's the best-selling, gummy, whatever, sweet in the United States currently, or maybe it was a couple of years ago. But that's just the power of those UGC explainer videos, because it's so satisfying, and we just relate more to people like us, testing the product instead of like a super high production ad, which definitely has its use case, but UGC is powerful for sure.
Oh yeah. And I have a friend of mine who he, I won't say what his product is because he's not as public as going on Shark Tank, but he basically did a UGC video of his product on TikTok, and it's nothing exciting, like me, a middle-aged dude, using the product and not the super attractive model or funny person, just using the product. It got like 10 million views. Now, granted, when you're that viral, most of the traffic is not good, but there's going to be enough people that could be beneficial or might be someone who would now follow your channel because it's relative, or it's relatable to them. So yeah, you might just have to spend a little bit more time trying to explain your product to people, and it's going to be a harder road to hoe, but maybe it is a better long-term play for you than, slapping another garlic press on and hoping you get to the top of page 1, which is probably not going to happen.
And like another, just to like last things, like there's blue ocean strategy. We all know that book, and people tell you to avoid red oceans, but honestly, a red ocean is not necessarily bad, because there's a lot of blood, a lot of like prey in there, like there's a lot of demand in there. So it's just harder, right, to generate demand. But once you have generated the demand, then it's definitely a moat around your brand.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Cyb says net profit is the only metric, which is what we said earlier. Yes, it's all about the profit. It's all about the Benjamins, as they would say. And then I think this will be our last question here. Problem with so many Amazon sellers, they forget to deduct all overhead costs, including a salary for themselves. Once you deduct all overheads, then you have your net profit. 20% is excellent, 10% okay, 5% not so good. Now, the thing I would say is that might be debatable about whether or not you figure out your salary before you figure out your net profit. I guess it depends on where you're at. If you're doing $100,000 in sales, that would be harder to do. If you're doing 7 or 8 million and you want to give yourself a salary of 70,000, that would be easier to do. So I guess, it just depends on what your goals are. I guess that wasn't a question. So let's see. We have quick questions. We have a lot of people kind of explaining things, so that might make it a longer question. So, all right. So we are running out of time though. So let's do this. Paul, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, where would you like them to reach out or follow you?
Absolutely, Kevin. Just on LinkedIn, Paul Häberlein, under my name. I don't take any clients on for managed services, but we help sellers and agencies implement, custom API integrations. So you can basically build your own app, have maximum flexibility in your reporting, and just like lower the cost of your tech stack. And
all right. So definitely follow Paul. And then if they have questions or whatnot, they can reach out to you.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, good deal. Well, Paul, thank you for coming on. We had a good discussion there. A lot of people asked a lot of good questions.
Yeah.
So I know other people had some questions and things we did not get to, and I apologize if we didn't get to you, but join us next week. As I always say, make sure you ask your questions early, so we start running out of time and we don't always have the time for context or get into things towards the end, but we have more time in the beginning. So make sure you get your questions in early, which is funny because oftentimes we go live and I already start seeing questions coming in. There's usually a handful of questions there. So that was the case today, but be one of the first to ask questions, get there early, and you never know, we might do a giveaway. So we did do a giveaway of a PPC Mastery Summit recording. So to the person who won, make sure to email kevin@myamazonguy.com. I can always go back and check the replay, folks. So anyway, with that, thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It was a good time.
Pleasure, and talk to you soon.